Yeah, hello and welcome to another episode of the weekly Spielworxx chat. My name is Uli Blennemann. As we all know, the pandemic is very bad. But you start getting Christmas cards. So yesterday I already got my first Christmas card, and let me show it. So here it is. Blessings from the Cabin by Ben Maddox of 5 Games for Doomsday. Look at that picture. It's amazing. Wonderful band to get this, and again, I have to show it. So it's a nightmare. But seriously, of course, Ben Maddox, 5 Games for Doomsday is one of the best podcasts out there. You should all check it out. So, pandemic, Christmas cards, what's next? Dan Thoreau has talked to Mo, Brian, and Lyndon on the cost. And let me briefly post the URL here. So let me do this here. So, and while I've done this, so hello Stefan, hello Rainer, hello Claude, good to see you. Mo, I've just talked about you and your podcast episode with Dan, and it's my pleasure seeing you, Stephen, Mr. Retirement, the podfather of gaming. It's wonderful seeing you all here. But really, if you have any interest in the cost, you should check out the podcast. The URL is over there. If you have any interest in moral game design, also check out that podcast and listen to it. It's, in my opinion, it's really wonderful. And there's also Matt. Good to see you. Um, so designer Stefan Wisthaus, who is also viewing here, has sent a most interesting question and comment in advance. And Stefan writes, for some years there is a trend to implement a solo variant into multiplayer games or to include an automa rule to add missing players. In solo games there are two variants. So you battle one or more automas, bots, or you try to beat a high score. Beating the high score is easier to implement, both for the designer and the player. Most often, you do not need to place more pieces for a virtual opponent. But however, the high score variant often can't really offer the same play experience than the multiplayer game would offer. And with automas, there are two opposite positions according to Stefan. So you either try to really simulate the player turns of the automa very well, and this often results in very long, if you do this, then this happens, sequences. So example is if the automa buys a card, they first purchase the cheapest one. If there is no card to purchase, they instead do the action play card. And this, of course, is very detailed. And let me show you an example. So this is the sequence or player aid card from Churchill by GMT Games. And Churchill is a 3-player game. I like it really a lot. But you can play it either solitaire or with 2 players as well by replacing one or two of the players. And then there is this automa, this bot included. So for example, if the Soviet player is missing, you have the Stalin bot, so that's all there. And here, there's even more text for Roosevelt or for Churchill. So you see, it's more like a flow chart and very detailed, but of course also very, very long. An alternative to this is an automa conducting random turns, like for example in Charterstone, where a meeple is placed according to a card, no matter if this placement makes any sense. This then results in no chance for the player to know what will happen next. There is an additional problem that the automa may give an advantage to one player in a multiplayer game because of their random actions. So what I would like to know now is how you see this. So if you have a view on automas, on beating a high score, or how do you see this solo rules in multiplayer games, please post this in the chat window. I'm really interested in um, getting to know your views. And myself, I hardly play solo games. Often they feel more like work than fun. And again, this is from Churchill, a game that I really like. Um, but Churchill, because of these long automa bot rules, it feels very technical. So if I'm not having three players, I would not play Churchill. That's a fact. And if I'm alone, then I'm not playing a tabletop game. Then I'm rather reading a book, or I would play a video game if I'm alone. But in Corona times, of course, I see the benefit of solo rules, and they are clearly quite popular. So, do you play a lot in solitaire mode, or don't you do this? And if yes, which solo experience do you prefer? So, I'm really interested here, and I would like to see some of your comments. But while you may respond to this, I can already move forward to my second topic for today. But maybe one more sentence here on solo experiences. Another very personal reason for me is why I'm not playing that many solo games is that often the prototype games that I'm getting, I'm evaluating them first solitaire. So I'm getting a prototype, I find it interesting, I set it up on a table, I read the rules in advance, and then I check out if this all makes sense. And I'm doing this solo. So maybe I have then already more than enough playing solitaire. So this could be also a reason. So, and Matt is commenting here, I don't really play solo games, only as a research for designing. Yes, this is basically the same thing as I'm doing it. And Rainer is saying, in my opinion, beat your own score is boring. There are many great automa opponents in Gaia Project, Race for the Galaxy, Architects of the West Kingdom, also in Pax Pamir. Yes, the high score variant doesn't feel really satisfying to me as well, and often what does it mean? Let's say I'm having 50 points, the bot only has 48 points, but what does this mean? Is there any relevance in this? So it's easy to implement, and I see why quite a few games try to implement such a solo mode in their game, but as Rainer is saying, I find it quite boring as well. Size has a good solo mode, yeah. And Matt is confirming, he's also saying when he's playing solo games, he's preferring playing against one or more bots. Yeah, I agree, but then we have the question, how do we handle this? So I never played the full Charterstone campaign because I did not like the game at all, but I played a couple of games, but not solitaire. But of course, I looked at the solitaire rules and I found them very pointless. But then the other extreme here in Churchill, or what is even more detailed, is in the coin series. So most of the coin games from GMT games are for 4 players, and you can, in theory, you can play them solitaire as well, or you can replace one or two of the players by bots, and this is even a way longer flowchart than here in Churchill. So is there a good option? Because clearly quite a few players like these solo games. Spirit Island and Mage Knight are my go for solo gaming. Mage Knight, beat the game is more fun in SC2 isn't my life more fun in his opinion too. So you see there are different views on solo games, and in my opinion they will stay in the future, because not only because of the pandemic times, but for quite a few players, first it's difficult to find opponents who will play the same game at the same place and time. And for some, it's also their preferred mode, so that they are saying, I love to sit down quietly. And in contrast, when I'm saying alone, I'm preferring video games, but some players, they want to touch pieces. These feeling, they want to move around a playing piece with their hands and not just click on a mouse and in a video game. So yeah, that's what it is. And Rainer is confirming that Mage Knight and Spirit Island are fantastic solo. Yeah, now I've only played Spirit Island with two. I love the game. I've never tried the solo mode. I don't like, actually, I know that some people will now scream. I don't like Mage Knight at all. It's not my type of game. Stefan is saying, high score games are useful for internet rankings and contests. Yes, so high score, of course, this race to beat others. This is, in my opinion, also very German, although, of course, this is everywhere. But I feel, and this is just my opinion, that especially in Germany, there are lots of players who want to win. That, of course, winning in a game is one of the motives to play, to start playing, but especially here in Germany, I think that a lot of players, for a lot of players, it's their number one thing. They want to beat some others, they want to compete with others and win in the end. And of course, if you beat the high score, and or if you have, when I was saying earlier, where's the relevance when I'm having 50 points compared to a solo opponent who has 48? If you move these 50 points to the internet and then see that 10 other gamers last day had 60 or more points, of course, then you can rank yourself. But for me, there is no pleasure in doing this. But that is just me. Okay, so please continue posting some stuff on solitaire games, on your favorite solo modes, because I will now move to the other topic for today, for tonight, because I said I'd like to do a brief announcement today. And in 2021, so next year, Spielworxx will release 4 games plus a special game. Probably you already knew this. And this at least is the plan, these 5 games. These are, very briefly mentioned, Tharos, Squaring Circleville, The Smoky Valley, 1837 Saxony, and a special game, Schrille Stille Redone Edition. So what will be different next year is how I'll market the games. So you know, right now Spielworxx is doing just 1,000 copies and only once. And if there is an interest, I will license a game later to a partner. And I've also licensed games right from the start for Kickstarter campaigns. So to Indie and Stronghold this year, Tribune and Crescent City Cargo, and the second edition of Captains of the Gulf. But next year I will Kickstarter my games myself. So first, these will be very modest campaigns. So you may now ask, why am I doing this? And my reasoning is that Spielworxx needs more visibility. The biggest problem right now is that there is way too much product, and On top of that, let's be frank, no one is looking at the Spielworxx website and looking for info on a new game. So maybe there's a little bit of an exaggeration. So, but very few people will look at the Spielworxx website. And on top of that, when Spielworxx was founded in 2010, there were a lot less gaming companies. So not only less products, but a lot less gaming companies out there. And the situation, as you all know, of course, now is completely different. And I have a feeling that Spielworxx needs more visibility to get through the next decade. So the strategy will be first Kickstarter release. Then for people having no credit card or who do not want to deal with Kickstarter, I will offer a very limited number of copies after the Kickstarter release of the game. And the game or the games won't go into general distribution. And I will continue to sell surplus printed copies for a higher price than at my website and at conventions, whenever there will be conventions possible again, till supplies last. And if there is, say, after 12 months, an interest in a licensed edition, then this, of course, is a possibility. But I would not hold my breath here. This is far from being guaranteed. And again, if we all look at the huge volume of product out there, realistically licensed games in the future, we will see less of them, even when the first edition is only 1,000 copies print run. And am I sure that this will work out? No, of course I'm not. So I can always fall back, and I will fall back if this does not work out, to my 1,000 copies policy. So does this make any sense? Do you have any questions about this? So please post them in the window as well. So let me see here. There we will. There's some further comments on solitaire games. Yes, there are some really very good ones. Seven Wonders dual solo mode, unofficial version. Yes, that's also a very good model. And Stefan is asking here on my changed policy, will you stay with English, German versions or more languages right from the kickstart? So first I will start with, as before, an Anglo-German edition, so no additional languages. Of course, if there is a partner well in advance who says, I definitely want to participate in this campaign, I will definitely look into this and see if this is a possibility. But again, this is also a thing on, we have to be realistic. So Spielworxx is doing complex games for a small niche audience, and then seeing let's say a Spanish edition or a Portuguese edition or a Dutch edition right from the start is not that realistic, because companies these days are very careful, which makes sense. They will cherry pick. So they will look, is the game well rated on BGG? What is the word of mouth? Is this getting a good? Is this game having a good reputation? Then they will license it. And what I've seen and observed, so it's not only Spielworxx, of course, it's from a lot of other companies over the last 12 months, is that there are less licensed games. It will happen if there is a very popular designer name on the front cover, if the game belongs to a proven family of games. But for Spielworxx, I doubt it. So what we will see is, first, like before, Anglo-German editions. And I'm not saying, when I said, well, I can fall back to 1,000 copies editions, I'm not saying that necessarily the Kickstarter print runs will be larger. It's just a thing about visibility. So it could be that, let's say, a game is having 600 Kickstarter backers, which for me would be quite nice. And probably I would then still print 1,000 copies. And this is then games that can be sold afterwards from my website, at conventions till supplies last. So that's also what I meant with modest campaigns. So I'm not looking for the next game that has 500 plastic figures included. Um, okay, Daniel is asking, and by the way, hello Daniel. Are you, Uli, running the Kickstarters yourself or do you have someone doing it for you? So I plan to run most of the campaign myself. I will have helpers, also one on US time, which is of course very important. But most of it will be done by me, including, and I'm not really looking forward to it, including answering questions. But there will be also videos and all this, of course, German videos, English language videos. All this will be handled by me in advance and during the campaign. And the games will, and this is the plan, continue to be printed here in Europe. But of course, I will have a fulfillment partner in the US. Because if I would ship individual copies to US backers, this would be way too expensive. So US copies or copies to US or overseas backers would go by boat to the US and then sent to the backers by the fulfillment partner. Yeah, hello. This is nice to see you. Are you Matthew? Good to see you. So another question here. Rainer is saying Kickstarter allows better planning for sure. Maybe you will have to print much more than 1,000 copies. Fingers crossed. It could happen. So, but I'm not really. Let's be realistic. Of course, if there is a game that has 2,000 backers, I would be so pleased, and I would love to see it. But it will be very difficult because yes, Kickstarter is increasing visibility, but still there are so many games daily Kickstarted. So if you look at Kickstarters, how many new games are offered there each day, it's not sure that your game is in the focus. It's definitely better than offering a game only for pre-order from the Spielworxx website. For sure this is better, but it doesn't guarantee that everybody is interested in the game, especially because we are talking about complex and costly games. Matt is saying Kickstarter and Stripe fees take about 10% of the project total. That's true. That's absolutely true. You have to take this in account. And Matt is also saying, are you ready for stretch goals, Madness, Uli? No, I'm not. And that's also why I mentioned earlier modest campaigns. So there may be a stretch goal or two in a project, but there won't be stretch goals for stretch goals' sake. So I want to ship a nice, complete game and not tell people this is a game, but actually there is this and there is this and there is this. So I wanna sell a game that I'm satisfied with, and that is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Which, of course, again leads me back to modest campaigns, because if you want to really have huge number of backers, you better make sure that there are tons of stretch goals included. But I don't want to do this. Stefan, any thought about deluxe versions? Yeah, very difficult, very difficult. Deluxe edition. So let's take a look at your game, Stefan. Let's take a look at Gentis. We did it the Spielworxx way, and I'm so pleased with the game. And then TMG and Game Brewer did a deluxe version, which of course is very nice and has some nice pieces. But for me, actually, this is my personal preference again, it was even a little bit too much. So I'm still more than happy with the Spielworxx version of your Gentis. Um, but of course, I have to take in account the Kickstarter crew. So I have to see what what I can do. So for Spielworxx, cubes and discs for wooden pieces are best. And I have the ability, and I'm not saying this is a positive thing, but it's how I react. I can, if I see a cube on a game board, it's for me. For example, it's grain or something else. Or it could be even a troop of units. But some other people these days, they are trained to get educated, to get special pieces. So probably I have to take this into account. So maybe I have to upgrade this. Is this truly a deluxe edition? Is this a deluxe version? I'm not sure. I just want to make sure that the designer, so the author, and the whole Spielworxx team is happy with the game. And of course, I know you can't please everyone. There will be people, and I'm already looking forward to these comments on Kickstarter. Will say, "Oh, this is too plain. This is change this," and yeah, it is what it is. We have to deal with this. So Daniel is saying, I think no stretch goals is a totally viable option. I agree. We just have to make sure, or I have to make sure that the whole Kickstarter page is not static for, let's say, 20 days or 30 days, how long the campaign will last. So you need to have something new a couple of times. And stretch goals, of course, that you are unlocking, they give a fresh feel to a campaign. That's why they are included, so to get more people excited. So but also I think I'm in agreement, Daniel, that it's totally viable to have no stretch goals. It's just how you set up the campaign. Mm. Good question here. What timeline from finished Kickstarter to fulfillment are you thinking? Will the game be finished and ready to print, or will there be more development after the Kickstarter ends? Actually, it's a very good question, because you see, and I'm not saying this because I don't like it. There are some games that enter Kickstarter and are still in initial or mid development, and you all know that I'm a huge Cole Worley fanboy. But if you look at Oath, for example, there were so many changes during the campaign and after the campaign that it was astonishing. And I don't mind this at all, but I think Cole can do this because he's Cole. And I don't think I could ever do the same thing, because people would simply say, no, this game is not finished. So I'm not backing an unfinished game. So my games will be fully developed and fully finished. So, in getting back to your first part, so because I'm printing in Europe here, let's say the game, the Kickstarter campaign ends in late January, I would immediately inform the printer to print a certain number of copies, let's say 1,000 copies. And let's say they could deliver within 6 weeks. So I would have the game in, let's say, in mid-March here, and Kickstarter backers in Europe would have the game end of March, early April. Of course, for the US, for Canada, please add another 6 weeks, 8 weeks, probably 8 weeks. First boat, then to the US, then to the fulfillment partner, then to the backers. So, but it's not that I would, at least this is my plan, that I will have a game that where the Kickstarter campaign is finished in late January and I'm only delivering in December. But of course, anything can happen. Anything can happen, and I will just try to make sure that everything works out according to a realistic plan. But yeah, that's at least that's what I'm planning. Rainer is saying cubes are fine, but I really love real coins, much better than cardboard. Cardboard. Yeah, I see this. Again, I when I backed the first print of the second edition of Pax Pamir English edition in 2019, I did not back the coins because I'm fully happy with the cardboard Rupien included. So I have no, I don't need metal coins. But yes, I saw when I fulfilled the German edition of Pax Pamir's second edition, or during pre-order, how many people wanted to have the coins. So there is a need for people for some special stuff, and of course, table presence these days is also important. Even if I'm personally, because I was brought up in the late 70s, early 80s with war games. So I had SBI games, I had Avalon Hill games, and talk about any table presence. They looked awful according to modern standards, but I don't mind. For me, the immersion is there. It's not so much about the components, it's about the story a game can tell me, the narrative, and then I'm totally fine. Bayabube is saying, Cube Pusher for life. I am, yes, that's what I'm saying. And hello, Ode, good to see you here. Yes, that's right. And Stefan is saying, I'm fine with Spielworxx components, but metal coins are giving a better game experience to some players. As I said, I agree. Maybe upgrade kits could be an option. Yeah and no. I know upgrade kits are fine, but I don't want to deal with this. So I want to have this edition done. Maybe if there is a licensed version afterwards, they can upgrade, and then I would offer my Kickstarter backers an upgrade kit. But actually, I want to deal with this myself. I'm a Spielemacher, so that's I want to make games. Spielemacher. That's what I love to do. I have my tax work here, as anyone who has a small company can tell you. I'm having so much administrative stuff. So I want to work on games, and I don't necessarily want to work on upgrade kits to existing games. I want to have something new. This is what gets me exciting. So, Ode, yeah, I like cardboard coins better than metal coins. You are getting the money is in the mail, of course. Yeah, Rainer, Kickstarter upgrade kits for coins would be fantastic. Maybe. I have to think about this. Fortunately, my first couple of games don't have coins included. I don't think so. Yeah, but I agree, Rainer. Of course, for Pax Pamir, the coins add a lot of table presence. They feel it's also because these are good coins, because you want to hold them in your hand. They feel nice. They are not very light, so it's good quality, of course. Daniel is saying, yeah, metal coins are overrated, and it's also a thing with Kickstarter. You always um, need to up the bar. Is this a term? So first we had on Kickstarter we had standard games, cubes, discs, whatever, and then there were the games with figures, so plastic figures included. So toys for boys, as I'm always naming them. So you open the box, you see all these figures, but when I opened, this must be a long time ago, the first large boxes by Fantasy Flight Games, not at Kickstarter, and I saw the number of figures included there, I was overwhelmed. But nowadays everyone has figures, so you need to have painted miniatures included, and in huge ones, not the tiny ones. So you have the huge ones, and Then you have your cardboard coins. Now you need metal coins. And what's next? It's always a race to the next level. And I fear, and again, that's why I'm saying I'm doing modest campaigns. I'm fearing that Spielworxx can't really compete. What we can offer is some great game experiences, but I'm not sure if we should look at my campaigns necessarily from a components view. So I don't think that will be the correct one unless you want to be disappointed right from the start. And I'm not saying that my components will be in any way inferior. No, I'm printing in Europe, so you know the standard of wood definitely is much better, because in the EU you need to dry wood for, I think it's now 18 months, and then you are only allowed to cut it and put it into game pieces, whereas in China you cut the tree, you chop it into parts, and then you immediately put it into games. Of course, Chinese quality has improved a lot, but still there are quality issues. But still, I think we should not look necessarily at Spielworxx Kickstarter campaigns from a components point of view. But of course, some people will do this. They will compare. This is the nature of the game. It's what it is. We can't please everyone, and I know reading a couple of Kickstarter comments during my campaigns will be very disappointing. I know this, but this is what it is. So, Matt is saying, just add realistic resources to your future games. Real brick, real stone, real gold. Yeah, real brick, real stone, maybe. Real gold, no, I doubt it. But very nice comment. You should use actual German currency in your games. Be cheaper than fabricated metal coins. Yeah, well, if I'm now comparing the euro to the US dollar, because I made an exchange today, I can definitely include US dollars, because 1 euro now is how much in dollars? Not a lot anymore. So better watch the US dollars. But of course, there would be a possibility, and it's still around in some places, to use German currency from 1923, when there was this high inflation here. So when we really had billions and trillions of money, and they printed it on paper and handed it out, and each day it was less. So maybe this is an idea, although no. Rainer, next level brass deluxe has iron clay chips, but yes, if the game is mediocre, the coins or any other component won't help. Yeah, you see, everybody is adding to the bar, and it's getting very, very difficult, because people want to have more and more. And of course, I totally understand. Stefan, upgrading components for usability are more appreciated, like double layer or Throne of Allegoria boards instead of bling bling. Yes, I think so. These things will be always possible. So in my first game next year, Tharos, we will use player boards that have the same thing as Throne of Allegoria. So they are punched through. So because there are also some tracks where you are tracking medals in Tharos, so 0, 1, 2, 3 in various categories, and you can easily, if you have a cube on there, you can move them too far, or they are shifting around, but if they are inside these small tiny holes, of course this is a huge improvement. Of course I can do so. Ode is saying, I never understood poker chips in games like Brass. I own the cardboard money once. In my copy of Brass Birmingham, I think I have cardboard, but I don't even know. So you see, at least if I had these, they did not make that much of an impression to me. Stefan is saying, personally, I like a good game for $50 with solid component than the same game for 100 with deluxe components. I'm the same. But again, some people are attracted to special stuff. It's what it is, and Rainer is agreeing too. So before we do too much, or before we are agreeing too much, I have to again, before I finish, close up, again show my Christmas card from Ben Maddox of 5 games for Doomsday. It's the greatest thing I ever got. So, well, maybe not. Next week I will have another guest. It will be Gil Hover of Formal Ferret Games, and of course, Gil is also the Ludology co host. We will talk about how Gil is running his small company in this industry and what he is planning for next for Formal Ferret Games. So I'm really excited talking to Gil, because Gil is also a person who knows everything about games. So if I would mention 5 names of people worldwide in the gaming industry who know the most about tabletop gamings, definitely Gil is on this list. So I'm really excited about this. And if you would like to see a special topic discussed or have a specific question in advance, please drop me a mail. This is also true if you have more comments on the first part for today on the solo modes in multiplayer games. So if you would like to write me, I would appreciate it. My mail address is uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. And till next week, bleibt gesund, Black Lives Matter. Bye bye.